Hey everyone, today we're diving into something that's a total game changer for any team. We're going to talk about how to supercharge your collaboration, not with more pep talks or meetings, but with a little bit of brain science. Let's get right into it.
So let me ask you something, and I think we can all relate to this. Does your team's motivation ever just feel a little flat? You know those days, right, where projects seem to drag and the energy in the virtual room just isn't there? Well, it turns out that's an incredibly common problem.
Now, your first instinct might be to schedule yet another meeting or draft a whole new project plan. But what if the real answer, the secret sauce, is something your brain already produces naturally? Yeah, we're talking about dopamine. That's right, we're going to figure out how to hack our own brain chemistry to build better, more energetic teams.
To really understand how this all works, we've got to look at the science behind it. So let's jump into our first section, your brain on collaboration.
Okay, so what exactly is dopamine? Well, you can think of it as your brain's own built-in reward chemical. It's that little hit of feel-good stuff that gets released when we expect or get something positive. And it creates this powerful drive to do that thing again. It's basically your brain giving you an internal, heck yeah, good job, signal.
And here's where it gets really powerful for teamwork. We can actually intentionally design the way we work to trigger this natural reward system. And when we do that, collaboration itself becomes more engaging, way more satisfying, and, ultimately, just more effective. And that leads to higher quality work and, of course, better outcomes for everyone.
So this brings us to the core strategy. In Section 2, we're going to see how this all comes together through what's called gamifying teamwork. And we're going to introduce the idea of micro-rewards.
So what in the world are micro-rewards? It's pretty simple, actually. They're just frequent, small, positive reinforcements. So for a second, forget about the big annual bonus. Instead, think about tiny, consistent acknowledgments for just making progress and working well together.
And this creates what we call the motivation loop, and it is seriously powerful. Picture this. A team member finishes a small task. Instantly, they get a little micro-reward. Maybe a checklist gets ticked off, or they get some kudos from a peer. Their brain releases a tiny bit of dopamine. And boom, just like that, their drive to take the next step gets a little boost. It becomes this amazing, self-perpetuating cycle that boosts not just morale, but actual productivity.
Okay, so how do we actually make this happen in the real world? Well, it pretty much boils down to three key things. First, making progress visible, with stuff like progress bars or checklists. Second, making peer recognition super easy, like with emojis or a quick shout-out. And third, using gamified feedback to turn a boring old update into a fun, rewarding little moment.
All right, so we've covered the why and the what. Now for the really fun part, the how. In Section 3, we're opening up the digital toolkit and looking at some specific apps you can use to bring all of this to life.
So for task management, you've kind of got a couple of paths you can take. You could go all in with an app like Habitica, which literally turns your to-do list into a role-playing game with levels and loot. It's perfect for smaller, maybe more tech-savvy teams. Or you can just adapt the tools you're probably already using, like Trello or Airtable. You can build custom trackers for points and milestones, which is a fantastic way to introduce this idea in a more traditional corporate setting. Now, one thing here is absolutely crucial. To be effective, that feedback has to be immediate. Something as simple as a real-time emoji reaction or a quick comment, that's what delivers the instant validation that fuels that dopamine loop. It's all about closing that gap between doing the thing and getting the reward. And this same principle, it extends perfectly to the tools you use for real-time collaboration. So in apps like Miro or Figma, you can use those built-in emoji reactions or digital stickers for that awesome in-the-moment creative feedback. And shared docs on Notion or Google Docs, you can even set it up so a burst of confetti pops up when a task is completed. Who doesn't love that? These are really small things, but trust me, they make a surprisingly big difference.
And hey, let's not forget your team's main communication hub, right? You can bake gamification right into Slack or Microsoft Teams. This is all about putting that recognition right where your team already lives and works. A simple kudos spot makes it so much easier for people to give praise, while a dedicated app can build a whole system of points and leaderboards right inside your chat, making sure everyone sees the wins.
Okay, so we've covered the science and the tools. In our final section, let's bring it all home and talk about putting it into practice. These are your first steps to building a way more motivated and engaged team.
And the best part about all of this is you don't have to build some crazy, complex system overnight. Not at all. You can start super small. I mean, a simple kudos channel in your team chat is a perfect entry point. Then, later on, when you're ready, you can scale it up to a bigger system with points that can be redeemed for actual rewards.
Feeling a little overwhelmed by all this? Don't be. Here is the simplest, most concrete way to begin. Just assign 10 points for completing a tiny task. That's it. It's small, it's so easy, and it starts building that motivation loop right away with basically zero complex setup.
So, what can you do, like today, right now? Here's your action plan. Set up a simple kudos bot. Start a shared team journal that has that fun confetti celebration. Make a point to actively encourage emoji reactions in your next design session. And hey, at the end of the week, just create a quick highlight reel of achievements. These are simple but powerful first moves.
So we've seen how a little bit of brain science mixed with the right tools can totally change a team's energy. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. What will be the very first micro-reward your team earns? Because that journey to a more motivated team, it starts with that one small, simple step.